YouTube, back with another video again with the beautiful Aston Martin Vantage. Ooh, and look at that Ravoni wrap. Golly, look at that, man. Alright, so if this is your first time seeing the car, this car is wrapped in a gloss vampire red color from Ravoni. And if you like this color and you want to get your car wrapped, this is highly recommended because the wrap material is pretty spectacular. The color obviously is very nice, and it went on nice and easy, man. So shout out to Ravoni. I'll give you the link in the description of this video, and you can get up to 12% off by using the Motivo code. Man, look at that. That's crazy. Dang, that car looks crazy. You can't tell me that's not exotic. So this is my 2019 Aston Martin Vantage, and today we're talking about how much car can you afford. So for example, you want to buy, let's say you want to buy a Ferrari 812 Superfast. So this is actually a special video shout out to one of the folks that I mentor. You know who you are. I'm not gonna say any names, but the question was, let's say I want to buy a Ferrari 812 Superfast, and the car costs $300,000. How much money should I have, or what should my net worth be in order for me to feel comfortable buying that $300,000 car? So I'm going to break this video down into two parts: how much money you should earn, and then how much money you should have as far as your net worth. How much your net worth should be before you get that $300,000 car. And I'm going to make this easy by starting off with a $100,000 car, and then you can just do the math to multiply it out times 3. And this is just my personal opinion. This is not actually some hard, steadfast rule that you use on how much car you can afford or how much you should be worth before you buy a certain supercar. These are just my thoughts. So I'm going to actually put the car in the background as I talk about this, so you guys don't have to look at my ugly mug and you can look at this beautiful, exotic Aston Martin Vantage. All right, so let's start out with how much I feel like you should make in order to afford a $100,000 car. And like I said, you can multiply it out if the car costs $200,000, if it costs $300,000 or whatever. This is just my rough math. So first of all, we're going to start with how much money you should make every year. All right, so how much you should earn to feel comfortable buying that $100,000 car, in my opinion, if it was me. All right, so if it was me, this car, for example, is like about $100,000. So this is a good example, right? I personally feel like you should be bringing in, ooh, golly, that is sexy. But anyway, you should be bringing in about $120,000 per year if you want if you want to finance a $100,000 a year car, right? At a minimum. And this is net. So this is net. So you should be making $100,000. Let's keep it simple. You should be making about $100,000 a year net if you want to have a $100,000 car, in my opinion. So you make $100,000 a year. Maybe your gross is $150K a year, and you buy a $100,000 car. I feel like you can comfortably afford the payment. You can, if you save money for 6 months, you should be able to put a nice down payment on the car to get that payment lower. Man, I'm liking this car more and more. The more I look at it under this light here at night, the more I'm actually liking this car. At first, I was the jury was out on this color, man. But you guys, let me know what you think. So that's easy math, right? $100,000 net is what you make every year. That's how much you bring home, and then you can get a $100,000 car, right? This is a good example. $100,000 car, you can get this beautiful exotic Aston Martin Vantage. So let's say you wanted a $300,000 car. You should be pulling in about 300 grand a year, I feel like, in my opinion, to feel comfortable buying that car. Now, what I personally did, like when I got my first Gallardo, I was making a lot more than that. But, if I had a regular job or a small business and kind of by myself type of thing, then these are the numbers that I would use. All right. So $300,000 car, you should be bringing home $300,000 a year. $100,000 car, real easy math, right? Now, you should not feel comfortable, even though you make that much money. You should not feel comfortable buying the car unless you either, one, put down a sizable down payment so that your monthly payments are really low and you can weather any storm. You can afford to lose money if you need to sell it. You can afford to lose whatever the money you might lose when you sell it, right? But making a nice down payment will help you mitigate that. So I would say put down at least 20% on the car. That way, if you have to sell it because you have an emergency or whatever, then you won't be in the negative. You'll be able to get a little bit of money back, most likely, right? You usually won't lose 20% of the value of a car if you buy it used. If you buy it new, you got to be really careful because some exotic cars go up in value. But the most I ever lost on a car was on I bought a used Ferrari F8 for like $418,000, and I lost, I think about $40,000 I lost on that car. So the more expensive the car, the more you need to be prepared to handle that loss. All right. Now, how much should your net worth be if you want to buy a $300,000 car? We're going to keep it simple. We're going to start with a $100,000 car, right? Because you not only want to be able to afford the payments or afford the car based on your income, but you should have investments because you're going to spend that much money on a car. You should have some investments. All right. So my opinion is your net worth should be, I would say, for a $100,000 car, you should have saved up, I would say at least 3 times that car. Your net worth should be at least $300,000 in net worth, at least. Now, in my case, I was more conservative, so I had, like, when I bought my Gallardo for $105,000, my net worth, I had a whole bunch of real estate. My income was good. And, I probably had 15 properties. And all of those properties were worth, 6 figures. So, I'm being conservative here. Or in my case, I like to be conservative. But to be honest, you should be fine if you buy a $100,000 car and you got about $300,000 in net worth. Especially if a lot of that is liquid. Now, if you really, if you want to do, let's say it's a $300,000 car, then you multiply that out. Your net worth should be darn near $1 million, if not more. The more expensive the car, the more your net worth should be. However, the one thing you got to remember, and the one thing people might argue with me and say you need to have a higher net worth to buy a more expensive car. But my thing is this. What you got to look at when you buy a expensive exotic, let's say the exotic is a $300,000 car. You have to look at if in a worst case scenario, you need to sell the car and get your money back, or just get out of that payment or whatever it is. You need to look at what do you stand to lose if you sell the car. So let's say it's a $300,000 car and you could potentially lose 30% of the value of that car. That's 90 grand. So That's what you have to look at when you look at your net worth, your cash. Can you afford to lose $90,000 potentially if you have to sell a car and the economy is in shambles and you want to get up out of the payment or whatever? Can you afford whatever that maximum loss could be, worst case scenario? Like, that would be pretty extreme, 90K, but I'm sure it's happened. But can you afford to lose that? So that's what you need to look at how much cash you have sitting in the bank and what your net worth is for things to start to make sense. Now, what I like to do is invest in real estate, and the real estate is an income producing asset. That real estate produces enough income to pay for whatever cars I might buy for fun. That's my mathematical equation. Even though I have so many different things going on, technically I might not use the real estate money to pay for a car, but I have enough investments where I can justify spending a certain amount on a car because those investments make a certain amount every month. So, do you have income producing assets in your net worth in your portfolio, and can they cover that car? That really should be your gauge on whether or not you should or can afford it. Now, income producing asset might be a business. So if you have a business that's producing and you do the math on the worst case scenario, the business stops producing and you're stuck with this car, can you afford to lose whatever you might lose if you need to sell it? That's the question. All right, so there's my answer. I would say net worth should be 3 or 4 times the value of the car, and your income should be, I would say, 1.5 times the value of the car, something like that. So those are just my rough numbers. Me personally, I am a little more conservative, and I waited longer to buy an exotic, but I was buying cars, like, let me give you an example. I think I'm going to tell you my most expensive car that I purchased while I still had a 9-to-5. The last car I think I purchased, most expensive car I think I purchased before I quit. I quit my job in 2004. At that point in time, I believe I had I think I had a Mustang GT that probably cost around 50 grand. And at that point in time, so I had a $50,000 car. I probably had 2 or 3 cars at the time. I had probably like a Mustang. I think I had a 4-door Acura Legend or something like that. And, I always kept like 2 cars and like a Jeep Cherokee. So I think my total investment in cars at that time would have probably been like let's say 90K. And guess what? At my day job, I was making about 90K a year, and I had about $90,000 worth of cars. So, and then I had a house. The net worth of my house was like $160,000. It probably was worth $200,000 at that point in time. My net worth was probably a lot less than what I'm even recommending here. My net worth was probably, I had my house, and that's about, in a business that was producing a little bit of income, but that's about it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm trying to keep it real, and not say no astronomical numbers. But damn, that drop looks good. This car is growing on me more and more the more I look at it. I need a smaller tire in the front. That sidewall is too big. But again, shout out to Ravuni. Ravuni is the wrap material. This is called Vampire Red. Awesome wrap. You can get a discount on it. The whole roll to do the car was only like $490, less than $500, and you get a 12% discount. So check the link in the description. Shout out to Ravuni. But yeah, man, that last little example, that goes to show, I had $90,000 in cars, and I was making about $90,000 a year. My net worth was probably like $100K. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we car guys do. But when it came to more and more expensive cars, I tried to be conservative because I had I was supporting myself with my own business. So these are just my thoughts and my personal recommendations or insight. I don't even know if I'll call it a recommendation, but if you were my nephew and you asked me this question, that's what I would tell you.
It's the one and only Floyd Money Mayweather. I'm here to tell you guys to go to Will Motivation The exotic cars is crazy. I've been watching this show for a little while now and it's growing. But we need everybody else to subscribe to Will Motivation and support Will. I'm supporting him. You do the same.